Good morning and welcome to Her Laundry Unfolded. I am Wendy Babcock, your host. I'm a communication strategist, speaker, author, and 20 other titles. But this morning I have Dawn McGee with me, and I'm really excited for her to share her story of her challenges and how she found success. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So Dawn, just, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. I'm a nutrition evangelist. I work with women who want results for a lifetime, not just a moment in time. And I come to this perspective through a long and winding road of my own. And one of the great things is that everything that I teach people is through my personal experience as well as, trainings and certifications and whatnot. I grew up in a house where dinner was meat and potatoes. And that was it.
Me too.
Right? You finished what was on your plate, and
Yep.
there was no discussion about it. But also I grew up in an environment where wherever we went, we brought food with us. If we were having a celebration, we celebrated with food. If we were mourning, we mourned with food. And so I grew up with the story that food equaled love.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily in a good, healthy way. And so it took me a long time to shift that perspective. Food still is love for me. I love food. I love to travel. I tell people I travel by stomach. But
I love that.
I love to get to know different cultures by their cuisine, right? So tons of fun. But it was over time that I was able to shift that into being a healthy and sustainable balance. So I think that was a key. Absolutely.
And I think you really touched on something, because I know growing up too, food is love. I mean, we do that for, someone's, grieving, we bring them food. Right. You're celebrating, you bring them food. We lose 5 pounds. Guess what? I'm going to reward myself with a treat.
Right. You got a good grade on a test. Great. Let's go celebrate with some ice cream.
Yeah.
And we do that all the time. It's part of our society, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just about the shift in perspective and mindset, right? That it doesn't have to all be junk food. Right. we can celebrate with something and really enjoy it, and it can be good, healthy for us. It doesn't have to be a salad with grilled chicken all the time.
Right. So walk us through some of the challenges that you found because of growing up that way. And, what did that look like?
Well, it's interesting because, when I went off to college, I had all this freedom for food, and it was the late night pizzas and the Chinese food and the beer and buffalo wings. And, I came home with, I will admit, more than the freshman 15. And that was my first introduction to diets. My mom said, "Ooh, this can't continue. Here you go." My first diet was the stewardess diet. And that began my love and hate affair with different programs and diets, and because none of them are sustainable.
Right.
Anything will work for a second, right?
Right. I don't think I know what that diet is. You said the stewardess diet? I don't think I know what that is. What is that?
Keep in mind, we're talking over 30 years ago at this point. It was apparently a diet that stewardesses used to get down to weight so they could fit into their uniform. Because at that time, they had requirements about their shape and size. And, thank goodness we've moved away from that. But, it was like, tuna fish on crackers and celery. And I don't remember all the ins and outs, but suffice to say, it was not terribly satisfying. Let's just leave it at that.
Very restrictive, I imagine.
Absolutely. Your classic restrictive diet. And of course, like anything else, it'll work for a period of time. But then when you go back to old habits, because it's not teaching you any new ones, then off you go back into the old world, right?
Right.
And so it took a long time for me to understand how to feed my body so that it was sustainable for the long haul, and that there's no diet involved. It's a way of feeding your body so that you're healthy and you have energy and your brain is sharp and your mood is good. All of these things that we don't associate with the food that we put into our body, but there's a really close connection there.
Right. And so in trying to figure that out, I mean, obviously, if you're a college age student and knowing you have to eat healthier and do things different, I mean, that had to be somewhat of a journey then, figuring out what's going to work for you and how to do it.
Absolutely. And I would not pretend that I reached that journey through college. It was many years later and many diets and many programs and this and that until I finally started understanding the science between feeding my body. We feed ourselves with protein, fat, and carbs. People go, well, what's the mystery between macros? And there's no mystery. A macro is just a macronutrient. Those are the proteins and the fats and the carbs that we need in order for our body to be healthy and our brain to function and all of our internal workings to keep working the way they're supposed to. And it's about eating them in a pacing and portion in a way that suits you.
Right.
And it's super simple. We're
right. And so talk a little bit about too is there's a mindset shift that goes along with that. And we can learn all the science. I mean, I know what I need to do to lose weight, but I keep, it's a vicious circle sometimes for me going, on and off and on and off.
It's true. And the mindset piece of it at its very foundation is it sounds like this. It sounds like I don't need to restrict myself in order to be healthy. I don't need to be hungry in order to be healthy. I do need to understand what I'm putting into my body. And anytime I make a shift with clients, I look at it in 4 steps. The first is, where are we right now? Where am I living? Am I living in a place where, I'm bored with my food, or I don't know what to eat, or I'm eating too much, or I'm emotional eating, or any of those millions of different things that go on. So first you got to figure out where you are. And then you have to figure out where you want to go. Because sure, some people want to lose a little bit of weight, but some people really want more energy. Some people want to know that they're going to get through the day without being starving. Or some people forget to eat. I mean, they're all different situations that we're in. So where are you? Then where do you want to go? And how do you get there? So we plot a course very, very simply with little tiny goals along the way, right? So you've got your big goal and then you set little goals along the way. And then there are two keys that I think a lot of people neglect in order to make sustainable. One is, how do I introduce variety into we're talking about food in this case, but we also talk about movement and self-care. But how do I introduce variety? Because as you said, you know what to do, but you end up on a cycle. And why is that? Why do you think you end up on a cycle in your case?
For me, I can be really dedicated until we have company, until there's parties. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to hurt so-and-so's feeling. They brought this amazing dish. And if I don't eat it, so for me, it's like, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. It's kind of crazy.
Right. And so that's a case where you're putting other people in front of yourself. And that's not really about the food, right? That's really about the self-care. Is how do you treat yourself as important? How do you find the joy, and how do you find the gratitude, and how do you move that forward? But there are a lot of cases where people are very dedicated and then they get bored. Like, well, this has been great. It's been working. I've been having the same 3 meals.
Right.
And that's really boring.
Yeah.
And so the third step is to make sure we're introducing variety into our daily meal plans, weekly meal plans. And then the fourth step is figuring out how to make it a habit. And that's where what you said really comes into play. It's, how do I navigate the social situations? How do I attend parties? How do I still go out with my girlfriends, have fun, not feel like I'm missing out on anything, and still be taking care of me?
Right. That's huge.
It is huge. Because a big part of that mindset is about knowing that you're important and that what you do for yourself which includes feeding yourself good food, is important for you.
Yeah, and for me specifically too, like we just had a kind of a 4th of July, a small get together with just a few immediate family members, and so I ate some desserts that I wasn't going to, and I did because I was like, oh, this looks really good. She put the effort in. I'm gonna have a try this. It's kind of downhill from there. So then the next day, I'm like, okay, back to it. But then I had there was leftover dessert, so I had some like I'll start on Monday.
Right, right.
And then I wake up Monday feeling regretful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the truth is, this is about a lifetime, right? It's a day of desserts here isn't going to make any difference in a lifetime. The challenge, as you know, is when a day of desserts turns into a weekend of desserts, which turns into a week, which turns into a month, which turns into, I'll get to it next January. Right?
Exactly. Yep. Which turns into 5 pounds, 10 pounds.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And that again, it all comes back to knowing that this is important to be taking care of you and really treating yourself as the highest priority.
Right. And I think too, making clear boundaries for myself, which I've kind of learned, and every now and then I kind of pick and choose my battles of when I'm going to really stick to it. I'll be like, okay, I'm doing this, so we're having this party, but I'm going to make sure there's food available for myself so I don't indulge on the other goodies.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And some of that's a trade-off. And I hope that when you have food for yourself, it's good, yummy food too, because
oh yeah,
good. And then, and if there are some treats there that you want to have a little bit of, you can augment with a couple of bites here or there. But by having the good, healthy food for yourself, then you're less likely to go overboard on some of the treats.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. So, okay. So before where did your life take you then? So in college, did you go to college to be a health coach, or was that a different career path for you?
I didn't. It's completely different. My degree is in computer science. So I'm
Wow.
I'm a scientist by training. So figuring out how things work really has always been part of my personality. And this has always been a passion of mine. I've been a certified and licensed nutrition coach for over 7 years now, but it's always been a passion. When I look on my bookshelf and see, the different books that are there about feeding your body and feeding your brain and how it all interplays, it's been part of my life for a long time. One of the things that happened in college is I wrecked my knee skiing, tore my ACL. And so so as part of the rehab and ongoing from there, I realized that everything sort of felt better when I was a little bit lighter, which was, another clue, another little light bulb. I never had any big aha moment, right? I followed a trail of breadcrumbs to get me to where I am today. There is no, oh my gosh, I have to do this. But it's all really added up over time. And, as part of all that rehab, and since then I've had multiple joints replaced, and there's a lot of rehab and a lot of work that goes into that. And so making sure that intentional movement is part of every day for me has been another part of what keeps me really healthy. And a lot of people will think, well, sure, Dawn, of course, that's because one of the ways you manage your weight is through exercise. And that may have been true when I was in my 20s. I didn't eat so well. I was running. I figured I could outrun my fork, which at that time I probably could. Not anymore. Once you hit 45 or 50, the days of outrunning your fork are long done.
That's so true.
Right? I'm sure all of us women can understand how things shift and change as we get a little bit older and the hormones go into different balance, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's been a key, but it's been a key for keeping me sane more than anything else. And it's been a key for keeping my energy high and for keeping me focused on what feels good for me and how to take care of myself. And so, a lot of people think a daily workout is a chore. For me, it's part of my self-care.
Right. You look at it more of as a reward kind of for, you're doing this good thing for yourself. And I think the nutrition too, if you're eating healthy, if you've had surgeries and replacements, that's going to help your healing process as well.
Absolutely. It's I call it a positive upward spiral, so that things that you do that are good for you, you stack
Mhm.
them on top of each other, and they continue to build, and they have this effect where they combine with each other, and they're even better
Right.
in the long run. So I can do a better workout because I feed my body better, and
Right.
because I feel better, I'm going to continue feeding my body better, and so it all feeds upon itself.
Sorry about my dogs barking. I don't know if
No,
somebody.
that's all good.
So are you more of many people say, work out in the morning. I find that my strongest time, because I tried doing the morning workouts like you're supposed to do in the morning, but my strongest time was in the afternoon. And I felt like that was wrong. But then I'm like, you know what? No, if this is my strongest time, that's when I'm going to work out. That's when I feel the best because I've eaten healthy all day and I know I have to eat that way to get that energy. So for me, that's worked for me. But, when's the best time for you? Are you a morning person for exercise?
Well, it's funny. My situation's a little bit ironic. I am not a morning person. I'm not all that pleasant in the morning, but I work for that reason. I do work out in the morning because I like to get it over with,
Mhm.
and it helps my mood. It
I suppose
helps
those
me be
endorphins
right. It
kick
helps me
in.
be a much more pleasant person. So I get up a little earlier. I work out in the morning. And that lets me be a much nicer person to all the rest of the people in my family for the rest of the day.
That's awesome. So if you're a little grumpy, like, did you get your workout in today?
Oh, I tell you, absolutely. I was playing pickleball on Friday and strained my calf muscle sitting around for 2 days. No
Oh
fun.
my gosh, no kidding.
No
I've
fun.
always wanted to try pickleball. It's funny that you mentioned that.
It's a fun game.
It-
It's a cross between ping pong and tennis. Um,
oh wow.
so it's fun. It's just, I lunged
Hmm.
the wrong way and I twisted yeah. And so there I was limping
Well,
around
I'm
for 2 days.
sure with the injuries that you have had, I mean, I imagine that you were a little bit nervous too of moving the wrong way sometimes. If you had that torn, ooh, that just sounds
Oh,
painful and
oh,
be scary to move.
absolutely. I spent the evening Googling what it could it be. Could I have popped my Achilles? Could it be this? Could it be that? The internet is a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
Right. So
You
can you
know,
talk about how did you actually start into coaching then? Like where did you make that transition where you're like, this is what I'm drawn to do? Like you said, it was a breadcrumb trail to, it's always been part of your life. And how do you get into helping other people with this?
yeah, absolutely. So I've got a 15-year-old son who's
Mhm.
wonderful. But after he was first born, even though I had, you know, better eating habits, I really struggled to lose the baby weight.
Mm.
And he was about 6, and I was talking with one of my girlfriends, as you do, and I said something about my baby weight, and she, bless her heart, stopped and said to me, "He's 6. You can't call it baby weight anymore." I
Yeah.
said,
Oops.
"Okay." Uh,
Hmm.
this wasn't really how I saw myself. I'd
Right.
always seen myself as fit and healthy, but clearly those days, taking care of a newborn, you've got other priorities,
Right.
right? And I sort of let it all slip a little bit, right? And
Hmm.
so I really had to figure out how to put the pieces back together in a way that worked with my new life, right? Because I couldn't just
Right.
pop off to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning because I had a little kiddo with me. Um,
Exactly.
and so I got introduced to Venice Nutrition and the founder, Mark McDonald, and
Okay.
learned about this science behind eating protein, fat, and carbs, and what that all meant and looked like. And that was really life changing for my food perspective. Um,
Okay.
and it really helped, put all the pieces back into balance. And after I figured that out, and it wasn't another diet, right? It was
Hmm.
a way of shifting how you thought about food and how you lived your life. That was when I said, "Oh, yeah, no, I need to show this to other people," because all of my girlfriends were, on the diet hamster wheel, and that's
Right.
exhausting to be doing that all the time. Right.
Hmm.
So I'm glad to not be on that hamster wheel anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing going on and off, and it kind of brings you down emotionally too when you're on that hamster wheel. Then when you're trying to get started again, you're like, oh, I'm probably just going to quit this like I did last time. So it's harder each time to get back on it.
Right, absolutely. You know, when you make some progress and you're like, oh boy, this is so much work. Can I keep doing this till I get to my goal? It's not like that anymore. It's really all about how am I feeding myself and how do I feel? There's so many other things to look at besides the number on the scale, and that's a really key piece that women don't think about. They think a lot about numbers. But there's how do you feel? How much energy do you have? How are you sleeping? How do you feel in your skin? How does your skin look, right? So many other things to think about besides just the number on the scale.
Well, even, I found through losing weight myself, through all the years since my 20s and whatnot, measuring inches over weighing yourself. And I always tell people too, because I did brief coaching for a very short time. I said, people don't go around weighing you, but they can see the inches you've lost.
Right.
They don't know that number hasn't moved on the scale, but yet you're smaller,
Right. Right. Well, and it's a fun fact that a pound of fat is about the size of a grapefruit, and a pound of muscle is about the size of a tangerine.
Wow.
And so you could weigh the exact same, but if you're working out and you're a little bit leaner, then you're absolutely going to be smaller. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more strength, more energy, more flexibility, more balance. And people are going to notice that. You're going to stand straighter, right?
And I love those charts where they show women of all different shapes and sizes, but they weigh exactly the same. They're different heights, their bodies are configured differently, but they're the same weight. And I think we tend to forget that, and we focus on that number on that scale, like it's got to move. That number's got to go down.
Absolutely, and sometimes the size on that tag and that dress also makes us crazy because, but everybody designs clothes differently. So, just find something that makes you feel fabulous, like the rock star that you are, and who cares what the size on the tag says?
Right. So you start, you kind of jump into coaching, right? And, so what does that look like then when you jump into coaching, and, how do you find success doing that?
Well, at first I was coaching folks, that I'd met in other groups and whatnot. And so I've evolved over time. I realize that there's a certain foundational set of things that I would say every time. And so I took a couple of years and put together a digital program.
Cool.
Which is a great foundational piece that anybody who wants to work with me gets access to. It can be purchased separately, of course, but so it's about 8 weeks of self-study, and it goes through my Eat, Move, and Recharge system. It gives you all the foundation, and every time you go through it, you'll pick up different pieces and different tidbits and little life hacks so that you can take it with you and continue, reinventing new habits for yourself.
That's awesome.
And then I work with some folks one-on-one as well. But my general philosophy is to coach you to a place where you don't need me, to coach myself out of a job, because I want people to own their health and have all the knowledge that they need to be able to go forward by themselves.
And a lot of times we get stuck in this mindset that we can't do it ourselves. We have to have, it's almost like a crutch in a way. And you want people to learn and have that confidence through what you're teaching them to say, no, spread your wings. You can fly with this now,
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I went through that when I first started coaching people as well. I thought, what right do I have to teach people? Everybody knows this stuff, right?
Imposter syndrome.
Well, we have to exercise. And then I realized that not everybody has spent as much time as I have acquiring that knowledge and learning it personally. And everyone's got different skill sets and different desires and different passions. And this is mine. I love food. And so I am thrilled to help anybody navigate those challenges. And that's really when things started to click for me. It's when I realized
Right.
that this was different, and it was, I think the thing that really makes my system different is not the eating piece. It's not the moving
Hmm.
piece, but it's the recharge piece.
Okay.
And that's, people talk about self-care and what does that look like and what does that mean?
Right.
And that's what puts it all together. Because if you don't start to take care of yourself, it doesn't matter how well you eat or how many miles you run, none of it's going to work. If
And
you,
I think I'm sorry, but I think
no,
that's that mindset shift there too when you're talking about that self-care. We have to get to that point where, like you said, we put ourselves ahead,
yeah.
and our health is important and how we feel is important. That's when we start to find enjoyment in what we're doing for ourselves.
Right. And those are the things that we talk about. We talk about how to have gratitude for those little victories, how to find joy every day, how to
Mhm.
take care of yourself, how to reduce the stress, um,
Yeah.
making sure
Beautiful.
you get enough sleep. I I don't know about you, but I know that most of the people I talk with as women, this is not something that we focus on.
Right? That's
Yeah.
for sure. Because
Yeah.
even like, okay, I'm going through, I had surgical, so I've been surgical menopause. So I'm up with night sweats all night. But when it gets to 7:30 in the morning, like I don't wake up with an alarm, but I feel like I have to be up. Even though I'm tired, I tossed and turned all night instead of allowing myself to like, okay, I could probably sleep another hour because I don't have anything at this moment. I will still kind of like, I feel like I have to get up.
Right. Right. And balancing that and making sure you get enough sleep so that
Mhm.
your body works as best as it can, super important. And then it sort of piles on, right?
Right.
So you didn't get enough sleep, you were tossing and turning, and then you're stressed because you're like, well, should I get up? Should I stay in bed? I
Yep.
have stuff to do. I didn't get enough sleep. How's today going to be? And just it piles on, and that's not a positive spiral. That's a downward one,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and then you lose steam for like that. I'm tired through the day, and I'm like, okay, I really want to do this yoga video. I said I was gonna, do this once a day, and I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm gonna skip it today. I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. Right. That's it. And then
Yeah,
once you skip it, once the consistency is gone,
yeah,
then the consistent part becomes inconsistent.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've learned so much about making habits, doing that, the 21 days, and why that changes your brain and all that.
Hmm.
So I've learned if I can get through that first 3 weeks of whatever I'm doing,
Yeah.
it's so much easier. It's that habit. But if I find myself elbow deep in a box of Twinkies by week 2, I'm kind of doomed.
For sure. And that's that fourth step is how to make it all a habit. Um, and those are the key things that I think makes me different for how I work with folks because I want them to make it stick and I want them to
Right,
have it as a habit and I want them to not need me. And
right,
that's unusual. A lot of people would be happy to have lifetime clients.
right. But it's what I like about what you're saying is it's the whole package. It's not like, here's the nutrition, here's what you need to eat, and then that's it. Or, I'm going to help you with the mindset, but, you can figure out the diet on your own. Or here's the movement part. So I like that it's like a holistic approach.
Well, we're a whole person, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you're not just a plate of food, and you're not just a pair of
Right.
running shoes. You're a whole person with people problems and challenges and
Right.
things that you've got to navigate throughout your life. And
Right.
most of the time, we're talking about how to navigate those little speed bumps that you come into. It's
Right.
if you know how to navigate those, knowing what to eat is easy.
Right. And so when your son was younger, then how did you find time to kind of squeeze it in? Because I think that's a big challenge for moms these days. It's like, one, when you're a mom and your kids are still young, they're number one. So
Yeah.
how do I prioritize myself and find time to exercise and meal prep and put that ahead? So that's where people I think really struggle.
Absolutely. And that was a big piece of the puzzle for me too, because
Hmm.
there he was as a newborn. I was up in the morning up with 2 a.m. feedings and then writing my business plan in the wee hours of the morning. And I thought, well, I'm putting him first. That makes me a great mom. But it didn't.
Hmm.
It made me a tired and cranky mom. That was
Yes.
not a recipe for success.
Right.
Right. And so I had to learn. And I learned it gradually, like everything else.
Hmm.
Um, that as he got older and I took time and I was able to do more things, that I was more pleasant, less cranky, and I was a better mom. I had more patience with him. And
Right.
so I was able to build upon that. And it is, I will not say that it is easy. The
Right.
lesson to take some time for yourself, because that pays back everybody else tenfold.
Right.
That's a lesson you have to keep reminding yourself of every single day. But it's
Right.
worth
So
it.
did you kind of schedule in like your time then, or did you just kind of when you like maybe when he was a baby, when he napped, did you do your workout, or how did you kind of prioritize your day?
So there's a lot that I always did with him. I always thought it
Okay.
was important to introduce him to good habits early, because
Mhm.
then he wouldn't have the same struggles I did later. And
Right.
so I always brought him into the kitchen, and, he would create things that are, age appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Don't hand a 2-year-old a chef's knife and expect him to chop vegetables, but
Right.
um, but being there, right? You meet people where they are, and so as a kid, you meet them where they are, wherever that is, um, and just introduce them to different foods and different flavors, and start talking about how to put a meal together. So by doing
Mhm.
that, I get to do the time for me, but I'm also having time with my kiddo, and the same for
Right.
workouts. Completely different topic. One of the side journeys I took was I got certified to teach itsy bitsy yoga when he was little, and that's a mom and baby yoga class. And
That's
so
awesome.
we were both doing, our workouts, and it was fun, and it was things that we
Oh,
got to do together. So I've always tried to, even if it wasn't exactly what I would have done, if it was
mhm.
just me, I've always tried to create opportunities for us to do some of that together.
And you're creating that really good quality time because it's a teaching
Yeah.
moment as well as,
Right.
helping keep your child
Yeah.
healthy and yourself healthy. And that's just a way of life then, so that down the road, your child doesn't have to like create a new mindset around food. That's
Right.
huge to me.
Right. And so you sneak it in, and
Mhm.
you try not to make a big deal out of it, because that's how it goes, is the most smoothly. But
Right.
that's been great. In these last few months that we've been home a lot more,
Mhm.
there's been a lot more, kitchen time. And
Right.
I'll be honest with you, some of it's been baking bread, and some of it's been baking cookies. But the truth is, when you start to have those discussions, you can start to shift and add in other things. So, don't start with, um, making a stir fry, right? Or, but
Right. Start small.
right. Start small. Start where they are, something that's interesting to them.
Right.
Popsicles. There are all sorts of different great ingredients you could put into popsicles, but it's in a fun form. So
Right.
lots of different ways to bring the family into the healthy lifestyle, so that it's not you separating yourself. It's not, oh, mom's doing something again. It's,
Right.
here's what we're doing together.
And that's great skills for them then when they
Yeah.
do eventually leave the home and, get out on their own, they can make not just good choices, but they know how to actually cook
Yeah.
and do those things. So it's just so many different layers of building for your child.
Right.
That's just, a great way to teach them and show them how and you're leading by example.
Yeah, and that's a key part of my philosophy, is lead by example. I won't ask you to do something that I haven't done myself, or I'm not willing to do myself.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your coaching program. You said that's online. Is that kind of a self-guided course then, or how does that work?
Yeah, I offer it in two ways. One is completely self-guided, and you can do it in
Okay.
about 8 weeks. You get
Okay.
emails to guide you through it, and videos every 3 days, and a
Okay.
workbook that you can go through. And it comes with a Facebook group, and I'm there. And then the
Okay.
second way, because I find that sometimes people do want a little bit of accountability, is
Right.
the program plus a group, where we'll do group calls every other week. And so we
Oh,
can
cool.
talk about your specific situation. What challenges have you had? What successes have you had? And that's my general philosophy. We start off with, what successes have you had?
Okay.
What challenges have you had? And we talk about, setting mini goals for the week, and how you did with last week's goals. And in that way, we're just taking it step by step. And all of a
Right.
sudden, it adds up into something really great.
And the nice thing is in that group format is some people are a little bit more shy about asking questions. So when they see somebody else bring it up, they can relate to, say, oh, I'm so glad somebody else asked that. So that group format I have found is so helpful for accountability, getting questions answered, maybe kind of getting out of your shell a little bit to mingle with everybody else.
Right. It's super helpful for people to know that they're not alone. And wherever they are, there are other people who have the same challenges. There are other people who have the same successes. And it creates a great sense of community and support.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So everyone can find you. You can look up her Facebook group. It's called Never Diet Again. So it'd be the facebook.com/Never Diet. And then you can join the group there and you can connect with Dawn. And I really hope everyone's getting a lot of information out of this because you've shared so much today. It's fantastic. and I love that, like you said, the breadcrumbs, instead of that big aha moment, it's been like a lifetime journey for you. So you have a lot to share from personal experience. So people who can relate with that, that's fantastic. And so I really hope you guys, whoever's watching, or if you watch on the replay, be sure to check out Dawn's group, Never Diet Again. Again, that's facebook.com/Never Diet. And then you can connect with Dawn McGee. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, Dawn, as a kind of a little bit of advice for somebody maybe who's thinking about joining the group and a little hesitant.
Absolutely. So this group is for real women. I don't coach runway models. I coach role models. And that's what we'd all like to be. So if that sounds like a place where you would like to find community and camaraderie and common interests, then come join in the group, Never Diet Again, as you said. And if you want just a little bit of a taste, you can download my freebie, 7 Nutrition Lies Guide. We talked about one of them today about, eating protein and fat and carbs, and there are 6 other things that really get in people's way from making progress and having success. And so we clear those out and get those out of the way. And, it's a great guide to get started with.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dawn. This has been just very enlightening and I love it. So I hope you have lots of people join your group. They can get the freebie. Is that a download?
It is. When they join, they'll get a copy of it if they give me their email address.
Perfect. That's awesome. So join the group, get your freebie and be part of an amazing community that helps shares. And Dawn can guide you with on your journey with, nutrition and weight loss. So thank you so much again, Dawn. We'll be back next Monday at 11 a.m. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Wendy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.